Hi folks, and welcome to the second and maybe hopefully the last part of the video about slide copying. It's been a while since the first one. I think the reason for that is basically I've been doing some experimenting with the settings from the camera and trying different lighting conditions, and I'd like to sort of talk about those two problems to start with before we actually attempt to demonstrate the copying process. The first thing, if you're going to use available light, you want to use a diffuse light, a bright light, but you don't want any colour. So one of the problems I encountered, I used it against when it's a bright blue sky, and I ended up with a blue cast over the slides. So preferably you want a bright, if you're going to use available light, a bright day, but you want the sort of a lot of cloud, so you can point the copier at the clouds, which will diffuse the light. What I'm going to do, I'm doing it inside in a conservatory, and there's as you'll see in a minute, there's a quite a white background, which hopefully there'll be enough light reflected off of that to give me some results. But we're going to try and see. Hopefully you'll see the results as they happen. I may have to edit them in some software afterwards, but hopefully I'm not going to do too much, so you can actually see the results that I had. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is I'm going to be using my D300, my Nikon D300, which is the old DX sensor or crop sensor. And the problem with this slide copier here is of 20-year vintage, so it is in effect a full frame copier, not a cropped copy, or DX as Nikon would call them. So the problem is that it has the same effect as if you were to put a 50mm lens. It would in effect become a 75mm, I believe that's the correct calculation. So because this crops the image because of the crop sensor, you have the effect of zooming in on the slide. That's what it's doing in effect, it's zooming in on the slide. So you are going to miss or lose some parts of the slide. Now within the holder at this end you can actually move the slide up and down, you can move the holder, you can spin the holder around, but I think inevitably you are going to crop or will crop some of the slides, so you have to choose the, I suppose, the best part of the slide that you want. But I think inevitably you are going to perhaps miss something out, but it's just experimentation to see which we're going to get and which works for you really. Now I'm just going to stick these in the shot there. These are some of the old slides I'm going to try and do now. These are, I think the grey ones are 1967 I believe, and these ones, paper ones, they are actually paper, they are 1964, 1963. There's some pictures of me, I don't know if you can see that, probably not worth trying, but there are some pictures of me on there as a child or a baby almost. But you see, these, the plastic ones are around 67 I think, paper ones are around 1963. So hopefully I'm going to get some out of it. And one of the first things you want to do really with the slides again is to check there's no fingerprints on them, any dust. Go out with a blower brush, try not to touch any of the surface, and really just choose the best quality slides that you can. And also bear in mind that your exposure is going to be based upon the exposure of the original slide. So again, you know, slide sort of choice is probably quite critical. So before you do anything, just basically check your slides, check the quality of slides, make sure there's no dust on them. Also you might have to do experimenting with lighting conditions before you find the ideal conditions for your particular setup. If you had a full frame sensor camera, which I am lucky enough now to own a full frame sensor camera, you would probably not have to do too much cropping, but I'm just going to use my D300 for this setup as I think my experimentation was carried out on my D300, so I'm not going to chop now to the full frame for the video. I mean, I will try at a later date, but at the minute, because my experimentation was done with the D300, I'm going to continue with the D300. I may do a future one using the D810, but having the experimentation and playing about it is certainly going to be a lot of work. So if you just bear with me, folks, I'm now going to sort of swap over, put the change tripods. Hopefully I can set it up so you can get a view of the back of the camera, so you can see on the LCD panel to actually see what I'm going to achieve or trying to achieve. So if you bear with me, folks, I'm going to swap it around, and we'll be back in a jiffy, as they say. So here's just a quick video of the camera and slide copier setup on my tripod. I just sort of try and it's all handheld. So that's the actual setup on my D300. And gently move around the back without tripping over anything. That's basically the setup. I'm going round pointing at it. It's a bit cluttered in here, but that's the sort of background that I'm pointing at. So hopefully I'm going to get a decent amount of light reflected off of that, but that is the actual setup I got at the moment. So we're going to go with that and see what happens. So we just reset now and we'll actually do the picture taking. Now the first thing you can see is I can get quite a lot of reflection off of the back of the camera, so hopefully it's going to work. But I've just put a slide in and I haven't made any other adjustments really. I've set the shutter speed on manual. I've set the shutter speed to, I think it was around just over a second, I think it was, something like that. I think it was over a second. That was sort of based upon my experiment, so I haven't changed the position of the slide in any way. I've just chucked it in. I'm going to go for the first picture here and we'll see now. So if you just see what happens, I'm trying to stand it so I don't get too much reflection. So here we go there. We're on manual, camera set to manual because there's no electrical contact between the copier and the camera, so if you don't set to manual, all you'll end up with is an error message and nothing works. So here we go, first picture then. I don't know if you can see that on the back there. That's a picture of a caravan and a caravan site. There seems to be a little bit of reflection from inside here somewhere, down in this corner. You can actually see that on the video, a little bit of reflection. I think that's inevitable if you're trying inside. But I'm now going to move the slide over and just see if we take another one. Same slide, just in a slightly different position. So again, we're at sort of just over a second on the shutter speed. So I've changed the position. I didn't see any of the readings on the camera there. You can probably see the cat in the background. That's one of our Bengals. So let me just zoom in a bit. So can I zoom in a bit? Yes, I do apologise for the cats being in the back. And now they're actually having a bit of a fight. That's typical of Bengal cats, but hey ho. Let's have a look and see. So there we go. Again, that's the picture. What I'm going to dial in a bit of exposure compensation and see if we can lighten it up a bit. So that actually on the Tele Live we're already +7 on that one. So made the cardinals in there. I didn't check everything, but that's about +7 on that one. So if I go back down to normal, and we'll see what happens now. So that was +7. I do apologise, I've sort of gone a bit too far with the exposure on that one already. So we'll try this one. So that's normal exposure. You see it's a little bit dark, and there's actually a bottom in the bottom corner. There's a reflection there, which I believe belongs to one of the cats. So I'm just going to move them out of the way. I do apologise for this, but this is done as is. I'm not messing about with anything. I'm going to re-edit it, so we'll try again. But I think the lighting conditions have changed a bit in here now. It's a bit dark. You can see my reflection in the way. It was a pain. Yeah, that's better. So you can see there, that's probably slightly darker, but not a massive amount. But that base is a caravan park that we stayed on many years ago. I think it was in Dorset, in a place called Swanage. So I'm dialing a bit plus exposure now. I'm going to go +7 again and try that again. So you can see it's actually cropping the slide quite a bit, because on the original slide, this area here is actually, you can actually see a lot more of the caravan park in that area there. So it's cropped it quite a considerable amount. But that's one of the, but it shows that it does work. So I'm now going to change the slide. So I'll just leave the camera running. We're going to try and keep it live. So any noise in the background is the cat's messing about. So I'm going to take the slide out. So everything's shaking. So I'm now going to try one from 1963-64. So I do apologise for the noise, but the cats are deciding they want to have a bit of a play and a fight. I'm just trying to get the slide basically as roughly in the middle as I can. Oh, kick the camera. So we'll try this one and see what we're looking at. I'm going to zoom out a bit with the camera to start with. Right, here we go. Right, let's try. Again, the shutter speed's the same. So that was me in 1964, I think it was. But you can see out there's quite a blue cast to that slide, and that's actually taken, I can actually tell you the camera it was taken with. It was taken with an Ilford Sports, I think an Ilford Sportsman, I think. Let's have a, press that again, have another look. So that sort of shows what's possible. And we're 1.3, about just over a second, 1.3 of a second. We're +7 on the exposure. So you can see that now. I can move the slide about. Let's see what happens there. But that's actually cropped quite a considerable amount. So if you can see on the edge of the slide, but it's cropped it's quite a considerable amount, because I'm actually stood on something in the picture, so it's cropped quite a large chunk out of the bottom of the picture. But as you can see, we're getting some results, but it is cropping it. I'll try another one. So you can't see the slide, but the actual picture of me is in full. I'm in full view. I've actually stood on something. Let's have a look and see. Let's try this one. Again, this one is a portrait sort of shot. And this is a zoom copier, so there is possibly to zoom in, so we'll just try that. So let's just try this for the moment and see what we get on this result. Again, we're getting, so again, that's me, and that will be full frame in that one. So it's cropped above. We'll try another one there. I just push the slide over a bit. So I can just push it over a tad more. I mean, I was probably chop some of these out when I actually edit the video, but I'm going to take another one there. So that's it. I've moved over. You can see the edge of the slide now. So if I zoom in a bit, wrong way. So there we go. Handsome chap that I was. Now we can actually zoom the slide in now. So if I zoom the camera back a bit. I'm going to zoom the slide in a bit. This is about 1.4 now on the zoom. Let's try that. See if I can. So you can see how the copier is zoomed in. I can go in. That's about 1.4. Let's go to 1.8. I think that's going to be too much, but we'll try that. Yeah, that's zoomed in at 1.8, so it's cropped too much. So I could go back to probably about 1.6. Again, the shutter speed is just over a second with about +7 on exposure compensation. So I'm going to try this one again. See, so about 1.4 would be a good sort of position if you wanted to just crop head and shoulders with me and my teddy bear. I'll try that one again. Here we go, sort of getting them perhaps back a bit more. 1.2. I haven't got the teddy bear anymore. There we go. And that's yours truly, about 1964 I think that was. So I'm 53 now. So that shows how long ago it was. I think I've still got me good looks. So that's that for that one. I'll see if I can find one more. Let's see if I can find a family shot. Something a bit different. Just to show you the problems. Now this one is a complete family shot. I think this one again was, this one is, I think the next one is 1967. Same place, as we always used to go to the same place for holidays as a child. This is now 1967, so I've guessed the position of the slide in the holder. Hopefully, I'm just sorry if we've gone a bit quiet, I'm just moving the cat because he's right in my line of light. So now that's 1967 this slide. I'm going to zoom out a bit. Only trouble is on the video I said you can see the reflection of me and everything in here, unfortunately. So it might detract from the image that you're seeing on the video, but hopefully when I put them on the back end of the video they'll see a bit decent. But here we go. That's a family shot. Now in the original, again we're 1.3 plus 7 on exposure. In the original there's a lot more people in there. This down here in the corner is my sister, both my aunties which are long since passed away, and it's my mum in the corner in 1967. If I push the slide over it, probably get a better view. Let's try again. There we go, that's me down in the corner. I'll see if I can push it over a bit more, just to see how much I've aged. There we go. Yep, that's me down. It's me and my sister and my mum. And my dad obviously taking a photograph again with, I think, with the Ilford Sportsman. So there you go folks, that is basically slide copying. Because I've done a lot of experiments with the beforehand. So the cat's talking to me now. What do you want, Bubbles? No? Because I've done a lot of experiments in the past before I've got to this point. So my settings, so I've gone straight into a pretty good setup. But obviously, if you try it yourself, there's going to be a lot more experimentation you're going to have to do before you reach what I am to this point now. As you see, they're not bad quality looking on the viewfinder of the camera or the screen of the camera, but time will tell what they look like actually on the computer when I've done a bit of editing. So I hope that's given you a bit of an insight into doing some slide copying. I don't know whether it's something that I would continue to do, because I've got my late father has loads and loads of slides to do, and I think it's very time consuming, but it's just as an experiment, because I had the slide copier cheap and I just wanted to try it out. So I hope you enjoyed watching the video, and I hope it's explained something of a interest to you with slide copying, and maybe if you have the opportunity to try one you'll have a go. But there you go folks, thanks for watching, and I hope it's given you some information. Cheers now.